See how high the water is compared to yesterday? Oh my gosh. Dude. Oh, yes. Man, that thing smashed it on the cast. Boys and girls, that didn't take long. Just got these brand new baits from Yamamoto, and this is a 4-inch fat Senko that we're throwing today. Did not take long. You know, hey, for basically my whole career, the Yamamoto Senko has played a role in it, you know, from tournament finishes just to catching fish. And we got a brand new bait. It just threw it off here, but I want to sit down. I want to show you guys this brand new bait from Yamamoto. It's new, it's available at Tackle Warehouse. It's the Yamamoto 4-inch fat Senko. So it's not the 4-inch Senko, it's the 4-inch fat Senko. All right, so hey, Yamamoto baits, you know, the Senko is near and dear to my heart. I remember in 1999 throwing this thing on Clear Lake, and I fell in love with the Yamamoto Senko back then. You know, of course, that was the 5-inch version of the Senko. So, you know, we have a 4 up to a 7-inch now. It's a fish catching bait. My whole career, I've really caught fish pretty much from California to Florida to New York on the Yamamoto Senko. And I love the Yamamoto Senko, the 4-inch, but I don't throw it as much. Why? Because it's just harder to kind of throw, right? Like it gets a lot of bites and really finesse situations. For me, most of the time it's that 5-inch Senko, but with this brand new 4-inch fat Senko, this is gonna be a bait that it's a must have for me. For one, you can see the size. You know, it's that 4-inch size, so it's short, it's compact, it's gonna get a lot of bites in those tougher situations. But being that fat Senko, what that's gonna do, number one, you're gonna have a lot more salt in this bait, right? So it's gonna have a huge amount of salt. It's gonna fall a little bit quicker. And when it's falling, it's gonna have really good action. So when you're wacky rigging this or Texas rigging it, it's gonna have a lot of action because of that more weight, the more salt, it's gonna pull it down quicker, a lot better action. But also, when you have some wind, right? The wind's coming up, they're not eating that 5-inch, or they're just kind of nipping the tail, maybe that 5 or 6-inch, and you go to that 4-inch, the wind picks up, that fat Senko is gonna be so much easier to throw out there and be accurate with the cast or skip it up under a dock because of that extra weight. And when I'm fishing this 4-inch fat Senko, you know, a couple things come to mind. Probably 90% of the time, I'm gonna wacky rig that. You know, I have a wacky rig right here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the Senko just like this. And when you look at the Senko, you're gonna have this little egg sac in the middle. I always wacky rig it on the bottom part of the egg sac, just, you know, closer to the tail here. So it's pretty much dead center, right in the middle of that Senko. And what that's gonna do is gonna have an even fall. So you're not gonna have the tail go down first or the head go down first. I'm gonna take my wacky rig hook. This is a Owner Jungle wacky rig hook right here. And I'm just gonna go right through the bait just like that, just hooking it just like that. So, you know, a lot of guys are gonna throw an O-ring. The one problem with an O-ring is the bait will kind of maybe fall off to the left or the right, and you're gonna have the hook not perfectly straight up and down just like this. So if your hook is sitting off to the side, not as good of a hookup ratio, so I do not prefer an O-ring when I'm wacky rigging a weightless bait just like this, and that is it. Very simple to throw, easy to rig up, but the 4-inch fat Senko is a bait that I'm gonna have, you're definitely gonna wanna have. Great Yamamoto fish catching colors. It's gonna be a good one. So let's get back out on the water. Let me show you how I throw this 4-inch fat Senko. You know, so when I'm fishing this 4-inch fat Senko, you know, like say today we're throwing it on a wacky rig, and it's gonna be real easy. You know, I'm gonna throw it out there. The Senko is really made to do its own thing. The action of the Senko is unbelievable. That's what makes this bait so good. And especially with this 4-inch fat Senko, it's gonna have a ton of action when it falls. You know, the head and the tail are really gonna shimmy down. So I'm gonna cast it out there, make it really easy. I'm gonna let it fall a couple feet, and then I'm gonna start slowly shaking it. You know, when that bait's wacky rigged, it's gonna have a ton of action down there. And the drawing power of this bait it's amazing. It's gonna draw fish from, you know, a long distance away to come over and check it out. And you're gonna get a ton of bites. You know, it's a great bait to skip, to, you know, throw under docks, to fish where you've seen some fish, you know, up cruising around. Like I say, the whole key is to let this bait do its thing. You're gonna wanna really let this bait fall on a slack line with a little bit of shaking. So again, I'm gonna cast it out there. I'm gonna let it sink down a couple feet, and then I'm gonna pick it up and shake it a little bit. And always be watching that line. You know, that's another thing. I love that chartreuse braid just for the simple fact on those, you know, maybe a rainy day, cloudy day, you know, and you're wondering, man, I didn't think it was that deep. You can watch that braid and really see if a smallmouth's got it, or a fish has got it. There he is, just like that. You know, I saw my braid, that chartreuse braid jump, and I knew a fish had it. This feels like a pretty good one. Look at that. You know what's so cool about the Senko too? Largemouth, smallmouth, spotted bass, you know, throughout the year, you're gonna catch some really nice fish. Check that out. That's a really nice smallmouth right there. Big old smallmouth. 4-inch Yamamoto fat Senko. You know, we're fishing around a little bit of current today, and you know, I don't know if you get these bites on a regular Senko, because this 4-inch fat Senko is really getting down there a little bit deeper and getting some nice bites. Check that out, man. I ate that. So when I'm throwing the Yamamoto 4-inch fat Senko, this is the gear I really prefer. You know, I like that 7-foot rod to a 7'4" spinning rod is what I preferred on. You know, a medium action spinning rod really seems to be a lot better, and a spinning reel. I like that 3000 size. But you know, going to the spinning reel, then over the rod, the exact reel I prefer is a Daiwa Tatula LTMQ, a 3000 size. You know, a couple of reasons why. You get less line twist when the bait is falling, but these 3000 size spinning reels, they have a lot higher gear ratio as well. So you make a long cast with that Yamamoto 4-inch fat Senko, you get a bite, you're gonna be able to retrieve a lot of line really quick and catch up. You know, going to the line here, I like a Daiwa Grand. It's a J-braid Grand. It's a 10-pound test. I like the chartreuse color. I love the chartreuse because when you cast that bait out and that braid is gonna float on top of the water, the bait is sinking. You can actually use this chartreuse braid as a strike indicator with Yamamoto 4-inch fat Senko. You'll a lot of times see that line jump, you know you got a fish on there. And the leader material, I like an 8-pound, maybe up to a 10-pound test. This is a Daiwa J Fluoro Samurai fluorocarbon leader. I put about 10 feet of fluorocarbon on there. I feel like that makes a really big difference. You don't want to go too much just because it'll really get into the reel too far and it's harder to cast. And again, of course, Yamamoto 4-inch fat Senko with a Owner Jungle Wacky Rig hook. This is a 1/0 size. And going back to the rod, you know, the reason I like a little bit longer rod, so I said a 7-foot to a 7'4". The exact rod I like is a Daiwa Tatula Elite 7-foot 4-inch rod. I actually designed, again, it's a medium action rod, but it's meant for Nico rigging, wacky rigging, and a tube. It's got a fast action tip, but a lot of backbone. So it's 7'4". You get a little bit extra distance out of that 7'4", but it skips really well also with this rod. So it will let that bait really load up and shoot up under a dock or, you know, a grass clump, wherever you're trying to cast. You make a lot more of an accurate cast with this rod, and it seems like it's the perfect rod. It's excellent for a wacky rig, especially this Yamamoto 4-inch fat Senko. And once you hook them, you don't lose them with this rod. So really good stuff. It's AGS, very sensitive, but that's the exact setup I use for this bait. It's proven, it's worked. I've used something similar to this for a very long time. So trust me, it is what you want for a 4-inch Yamamoto fat Senko.